that's the crazy thing is what they're allowed to do in studies. And one of the first correspondence that you and I had was we had read something where the description of why the COVID vaccines were 100% effective and what they used to make that distinction. It's not explain that. Explain that, because it's such a bizarre the way they do it. It seems like it should be illegal.
What they did with the COVID vaccine is they gave the COVID this is the Pfizer trial. We know a lot about the Pfizer trial because Pfizer was the one to get an approved vaccine. It did another trick. It got one of its vaccines approved, the Comirnaty vaccine, but that vaccine was not available in this country. But they were able to say to people, oh, we have an approved vaccine, and that made it okay for the colleges and everybody else to force you to take an emergency use authorization vaccine, which is illegal. Nobody can tell you to participate in a medical experiment. And so they played this kind of shell game. But in order to get that, they had to reveal their testing. And what they did was they gave 22,000 people the vaccine and 22,000 similarly situated people the placebo. And after 6 months, and they promised to do a 5-year study, but then they cut it back to 2 months or 4 months and unblinded it, right at the beginning. So, which is total deception. Because now we don't know what any of the long-term effects are. There's a lot of impacts from these from the vaccines, like every other drug, that have long diagnostic horizons and long incubation periods. And if you don't have a 5-year placebo-controlled trial, as Fauci himself has said, you need 8 years. He said, you're going to miss a lot, and you could have mayhem, and that's exactly.
So they
what
used
happened.
the excuse that this pandemic was so deadly
Yeah,
that they had to unblind the trial and give this medication to everyone, otherwise it would be unethical.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be unethical. So,
You think that was done on purpose? Do you think that was done to
I don't
obscure?
look into people's heads, but
Right.
it's not a good. The optics are not good. So. So what they did is they had 22,000 people got the vaccine, 22,000 who didn't, and they have 6 months of data. Some of that is unblinded, but it's 6 months. And during that 6-month period, in the vaccine group, 1 person died of COVID. And in the placebo group, 2 people died from COVID. So that allows Pfizer to tell the public and, FDA to tell the public, oh, this vaccine is 100% effective because 2 is 100% of 1.
That is insane.
What they should have been telling Americans, and what they're required to under the law, is to give them a number that is called the NNTV, the number needed to vaccinate to save 1 life. How many people do you have to vaccinate to save 1 life? And the answer, of course, is you need to vaccinate 22,000 people to save 1 life. So if you're going to vaccinate 22,000 people to save 1 life, you better make sure the vaccine itself is not killing anybody. Because if it kills 1 person per 22,000, you've now canceled out the entire benefit of the product. And when they looked at the key metric, which was all-cause mortality, in other words, how many people died of all, not just from COVID, but of all causes in the vaccine group, and how many died from all causes in the placebo group. The placebo group had 17 people die, and the vaccine group had 21. So what that means is there were more people died in the vaccine group. That means
But didn't the placebo group eventually take the vaccine because they were unblinded?
Yeah, they were unblinded, but they still gave us the data, the 6-month data for the people. So it's all. There's total information.
So it's
chaos.
during 6 months, though, right? And it's 6 months. It's 6 months of people that are adults.
Some of them got it sooner,
Right.
2 or 4 months. But anyway, they gave us the 6 months of data for the 2 designated groups, and it's an alarming result. Because there were 4 people who died of 4 to 5 people who died of cardiac arrest in the placebo in the vaccine group and only 1 in the placebo group. What that means is if you take the vaccine, you're 21% more likely to die over 6 months, according to this data, which is not good data and not enough of a big group, of a large enough group to really make these kind of predictions, but it's all they gave us. So they're stuck with this number. If you take the vaccine, you're 21% more likely to die of all causes. And when you look at the data, you see that there's 4 cardiac arrests, 4 to 5, because one of them looks like a cardiac arrest, but it may not be. But there's at least 4 cardiac arrests in the vaccine group and only 1 in the placebo group, which means if you take the vaccine, you're 400% more likely to die of a cardiac arrest over the next 6 months than if you didn't. So that's not a good, a product. You wouldn't want to recommend that product, much less mandate it, and yet they did.